I can do audio, I can do video. I'm fine whatever you want. I apologize for the technical difficulties as well.
No worries, man. It's okay. It happens every now and then. First, what exactly is going on between Facebook and Apple that caught your eye? What's the tension?
So Facebook and Apple are currently engaged in what's called a tech war. So Apple, Tim Cook, recently he published an interview in GQ magazine where he really came out against the privacy practices of so-called unnamed companies. But that unnamed company is actually Facebook. So Facebook has been in trouble before with the Cambridge Analytica scandal and the reputation of really being a hot den of right-wing white activity. And Tim Cook's largest concern here is that they're using that data inappropriately to really fuel a lot of the movements that are part of the Trump administration. That was the problem for white people. The problem for black people is that Facebook is doing that while also using our information to make enormous amounts of profit and not really addressing both the implicit biases they have within their staff, which causes them to ignore their right-wing activity, and also the implicit biases within their artificial intelligence that blocks black users at a much higher rate than white users.
Yeah. I mean, you captured that really well in this. I highly recommend this piece because it's exploring an issue that we either take for granted or we don't pay a whole lot of attention to because a lot of this technology is ubiquitous. Facebook, so many people use Facebook. People use iPhones, use Apple devices, Apple technology, and they're just not realizing how deeper it goes. What about the other innovation giants like Google, Microsoft, other folks in that Silicon Valley circle? Where are they in this conflict, this ongoing tech war between the giants like Apple and Facebook? Like, why did Apple and Facebook stand out more than the others?
Well, to me, Apple and Facebook stood out more because of the interview that Tim Cook had and my fascination with black personhood, the citizens that we built, the lives we have built in the shadow of citizenship. Now, when you look at an organization like Google, the New York Times recently them firing one of their artificial intelligence people, Dr. Timothy Gabu, for calling out that, hey, your artificial intelligence in the coding, it has racism coded in there. The anecdote that they give in the article is that they were sorting pictures of black men and putting them in a picture folder called gorillas. So on that end, we have Google, and Google's race to become also the primary phone operating software throughout the world, which currently has a very comfortable lead. With Microsoft, I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know anything explicit, but from my standpoint and just knowing how corporate America works, there will probably definitely be problems of implicit bias and unconscious bias that really arises from there and damages black personhood.
Yeah. So, we've been trying to get her to come on and talk about that. I've been trying to reach out to her. Maybe you have and to get her on this program to talk more about that issue of AI, and just the impending issues that are coming with that. So black users deciding or being used to decide the fate of this conflict, this tech war between Apple and Facebook. You talk about black personhood. How do you define that? And then two, how will black users, how will us decide how this conflict turns out?
So black personhood, I believe that black people in the United States, we have not really attained the status of full citizenship yet. That the promises of the Civil War amendments have not really been fulfilled. And we talk about black personhood, the lives we built in the shadow of citizenship. What we're actually talking about is the culture and the ways of survival we built in this pervasive environment of anti-blackness. Anti-blackness is slavery's epilogue. It has never really ended. So when it comes to us really being able to influence that, it's number one, resisting the question that white people ask about themselves every day when they wake up. What do we do about black people? I feel that black person has a better question. How do we live and love in the West, a civilization that did not have us loving each other in mind when it built itself through the triangle trade and slavery? So with that question in mind, we have to figure out that when it comes to tech, they are paying attention to us without really honoring us and helping us move us more towards the state of citizenship. And that's a crying shame because it would be a great opportunity for them not only honestly make some more profits given the consumer dollars in the black community, but to take a moral stance. The iPhone revolutionized Black Lives Matter. We could not be there when Trayvon Martin died, but we were there when Alton Sterling and Philando Castile died. We were there when Jacob Blake was shot. We were there for 8 minutes and 49 seconds when George Floyd had the life choked out of him, all because Apple put their money in to make a reliable video camera that fits in on the phone. So to us, is that truth we have to realize as both consumers, but also people who are striving for full citizenship, the whole tech companies accountable for seeing us and catering to us.
How, talk about a bit, if you could, or expound on, because I don't think people get, a lot of us as we're having this conversation about the technology we use, but particularly in the context of Black people, Black personhood, we don't understand how significant our size is as users, as not just national users like Black American users, but as global Black diaspora users of this technology. I mean, like you even point out in your piece about how Facebook is expanding its footprint in Africa as we speak, by creating like its own, kind of like its own sort of, broadband system, broadband infrastructure, particularly as the middle class grows in many countries on the African continent. But talk about the sheer magnitude, the sheer size of the Black digital user.
We are a very highly digital people. That I used to be a public educator, and one thing we noticed is that, hey, we have to really invest on like apps for parents to check grades and stuff, because even in rural Arkansas, where I started my teaching career, kids will use their phones just to access stuff. So we're very digital connected people, and we have to keep that in mind as these tech companies continue to really become, honestly, a utility, something that we can no longer live without. So we mentioned before, globally on a scale, Facebook is building an underwater internet cable to connect various African nations to the internet, but also with the expectation that Facebook, this ecosystem where racists thrive, and conflicts like the January 6th sacking of the Capitol also live as well. So we have to really be mindful that we have this power. They are literally building in the technological infrastructure to access our data, our privacy, and our connectivity. And yet they're also thrusting us into an ecosystem with people who hate and fear us. So when it comes to this technology thing, like we have to simply say that, hey, even if you don't believe in white supremacy really does believe in you, and it's figuring out ways in this new way, in this new digital age, to exploit you.
Yeah. But there's this problem too. I mean, we're big users of this technology. I mean, these platforms, these companies, they are surviving, they're thriving because of our usage, our appreciation of that technology. And now our can't do without it use of platforms like Facebook, like Instagram, and others, Twitter, TikTok, et cetera, going so on and so forth. And it's especially with respect to Black users. I mean, for Apple, it's smartphones. We're using smartphones and tablets more so than we use laptops or personal computers, PCs. But the big problem here is, and you point this out, is like we're like absent from the C-suites, the tops of the leadership of these organizations. And I love how you did that in your piece, where like you had a graphic like of all the photos of all the Apple executives, and it's not one Black person. And the people don't realize it. There's like no Black people on the executive team at Apple. It's making me look at my iPhone differently because I don't think I realized it until I never paid attention to it until I looked at your piece. Like it's basically an all-white executive team.
Ooh. Yeah, and that's honestly, in my viewpoint, it's intentional. That white people tend to see racism as a personal failing, as a bad quaking in the heart, versus how Black people really understand it and the truthful way of understanding it, a system that is designed to, based off the basis of race, export resources, capital, manpower, intellectual property from Black people into white people. So when you see a company like Facebook and Apple that have no Black leadership in the C-level, and yet you see them engaging in activities such as Apple with that horrible Flex That Clapback commercial, which everyone watched once just to laugh at, but also in regards to like its business acquisitions, buying beats from Dr. Dre, which is a Black-owned company, Black-branded company, and then using that to cater to a quote-unquote urban audience. They know what they're doing. They're a lot smarter than they like to communicate, and the absence at the C-level is very intentional, that we want to be able to do this and not really get any pushback from the internals of our organizational culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so, basically Dr. Dre, he's complicit in that exploitation that's going on, with beats, because, and you point that out too, like, at Black Lives Matter comes up, and it's, you call it, basically, what was the term that you used here? I'm trying to, because it was a very clever term. that you were using to describe, but I forgot it. Like a moment. It was like a flexing clapback. That's what you call it. Flexing clapback.
Dude, that was the actual title of the Apple commercial, and basically it had a black dancing the Flo Milli, and she was dancing in front of the Confederate statue. Yeah. And it was just ridiculous. Like, no, we don't want to dance in front of the statue. We either want to destroy it or put it in its proper place. This is the artifact of a traitorous rebel faction that tried to overthrow the nation because they wanted to keep my people in chains. Yeah. I also would say that I would take a little bit more mercy towards Dr. Dre. Like, money does not buy happiness, but it buys everything else. And Dre just really selling beats to Apple. I'm conflicted about him being complicit. I just think it's the ultimate question that, black people will answer. Can capitalism be redeemed in this age of global warming and exploitation? I honestly feel that the only people who can solidify and really answer that question for Western is the only people in recorded history who arose from a state of capital and bondage to become people who can live lives of self-determination, though it be limited under state. That question is going to be answered by black people, and I feel in a sense it's a bit of our historical destiny to do so. And Dr. Dre selling that, Jay-Z making his money and stuff like that, I think they're trying to figure out in their minds too. I'm not letting them off the hook for some of their more capitalistic behaviors, but I also think that in souls, that's the question. Hey, can I as a black man, or I as a black billionaire, or a black woman, or a black billionaire woman like Oprah Winfrey, can we redeem this system that first put us in chains?
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. We've been having that conversation too about individual black capitalism or individual black capitalist achievement versus like collective, black improvement or collective improvement of the black condition. So I have to ask too how so we're using these technologies, we're using these platforms, we're making them great. We're not in the leadership corridors of the corporations, or we don't have any sort of influence. It's very negligible at best in the innovation sector in Silicon.
Police has issued a child Amber abduction alert for the Philadelphia Police Department, Philadelphia County. The Philadelphia Police Department is searching for Byron McDonald, a black male, age 2 feet tall, 30 pounds, and it is unknown what clothing he is wearing. He was last seen on April 9, 2021 at approximately 1:30 p.m. in the area of 2500 North Bancroft Street, Philadelphia City, Philadelphia County. He is reported abducted by Byron McDonald, a black male, age 28, 6 feet 1 inches tall, 180 pounds, and it is unknown what clothing he is wearing. McDonald is to be driving a 2017 red Chevy Malibu with tinted windows and Pennsylvania registration LMD 3353. Repeating, the Philadelphia Police Department is searching for Byron McDonald, a black male, age 2 feet tall, 30 pounds, and it is unknown what clothing he is wearing. He was last seen on April 9, 2021 at approximately 1:30 p.m. in the area of the 2500 North Bancroft Street, Philadelphia City, Philadelphia County. He was reported abducted by Byron McDonald, a black male, age 28, 6 feet 1 inches tall, 180 pounds, and is unknown what clothing he is wearing. McDonald is to be driving a 2017 red Chevy Malibu with tinted windows, bearing Pennsylvania registration LMD 3353. Anyone with information about the abduction should immediately contact the police by calling 911. For more information, go to www.amber.pa.gov. This has been a child Amber abduction alert for the Philadelphia Police Department, Philadelphia County.
Compensated, and yet white dancers stealing them, and them getting the flash, and them getting the money. Jimmy Fallon just got in trouble for that for displaying a white dancer who basically stole all of the black TikTok dancing. So to me, it's like it doesn't matter what tech platform we adopt, whether it's one we create or whether one we adopt into the culture of black personhood. White supremacy is always going to be right behind us, and there's always going to be that exploitation, and there's always going to be that stealing of our culture and the monetization of our work and our ideas and our language unless there are actually policy solutions or corporate solutions that prevent that from happening.
We've been talking with Hal Harris. He is founder, a publisher of Established in 1865. Go to medium.com/established-in-1865. Check out this recent piece entitled "The Coming Tech War Between Apple and Facebook Will Ensnare Black Personhood. The Deep Inward and Outward Silence Apple and Facebook Display Toward Blackness hints at the fate they feel awaits my people." Also had quite a touching obituary to DMX. DMX's death belongs to the world. His life belongs to the Black person. You should read that too when you get a chance. Hal, it's been a pleasure. We gotta have you back. Really appreciate this.
Yeah.
Established 1865 on Twitter too.
Yes. I would love to be back. I would love you guys to have me again.
Excellent. Yeah, I really appreciate the insights. Some real good. I really do. That's why I had to have you on. I read this piece and I shared it with quite a few people, including my daughters. One of them who's kind of in that digital communication space. So they read this with interest and they're circulating it in their spaces too. But that Coming Tech War, I was like, that's some really good writing. So really appreciate the thought on this. But we'll have you back real soon, I'm sure.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Take care, brother. All right. Be safe. All right. Let's take a break and we'll be right back here on Reality Check, 96.1 FM, 900 AM in Philadelphia proper, Greater Philly, Delaware Valley, but throughout the nation, throughout the world. It's WURDradio.com, WURD TV, and WURD app. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.